India's financial capital, Mumbai, the long-awaited annual monsoon arrived 2 weeks late on the 23rd of June. The rains brought some respite to the city's 22 million inhabitants following weeks of blazing heat. But as the downpour intensified overnight, it caused waterlogging, traffic disruption, uprooted trees, and inundated underpasses. It is also to be noted that authorities in Mumbai imposed restrictions on water use last week, even cutting supplies to swimming pools and construction sites, as the delayed rains drained the city's reservoirs. According to the India Meteorological Department, a weaker monsoon is expected this year due to the El Nino weather pattern. Well, hello and welcome to another edition of Inside South Asia. I'm Kripa. Let's get started. First Goa, then Malviya Nagar in the national capital region, and now Lucknow, the capital of the northern Indian state of Uttar Pradesh. Why are deadly fires so disturbingly common in India? On the 22nd of June, a massive fire broke out in a commercial building in Lucknow, claiming the lives of at least 15 people, most of them young students. The visuals of panic-stricken, inconsolable family members subjected to the horror of watching their children trapped amid smoke and fire, fighting for their lives, is an image deeply disturbing and painful. Each such fire tragedy has left families devastated. But what about safety standards, regulatory compliance, and accountability?
The fire tragedy in Lucknow has once again forced the nation to face a painful truth. Far too many tragedies here begin with a small spark and end in scenes of unimaginable loss. More than a dozen people, most of them students in their early 20s, died when a massive blaze engulfed a 3-story commercial building in Aliganj that housed a study center, an animation studio, and a pet shop. Many of the victims were trapped on the second floor where classes were underway. They had left home that morning expecting nothing more than an ordinary day of learning. And perhaps that is what makes this tragedy so deeply unsettling. As fire tore through the buildings and thick smoke enveloped it swiftly, panic-stricken students and workers scrambled desperately for survival. Harrowing images showed people attempting daring escapes by rappelling down electric wires, others leaping from windows as corridors and stairwells were choked within minutes. For many trapped inside, jumping from windows became the only possible chance for survival. In a high-risk rescue effort, state disaster response force teams broke through the rear wall to reach those trapped and used exhaust fans to clear dense smoke before they could search rooms and washrooms for survivors. Preliminary investigations suggest that fire may have been caused by a short circuit in an LED billboard installed in the basement. But what has drawn greater attention are reports that the entrance to the coaching center was secured by a digital lock that required a thumb impression to open. When the fire broke out, the scanner reportedly stopped functioning, blocking the doors and trapping those stuck inside. That revelation prompts a deeper, more unsettling thought. How did we arrive at a point where basic fire safety is so lacking? Officials report the building stood on land originally approved for residential use and did not have a fire no objection certificate. Under current rules, such certificates are required only for structures taller than 15 meters, and this building fell below that threshold. Records also show the Lucknow Development Authority had issued a demolition order in May 2016 over unauthorized construction on the site, only to revoke it 2 months later. The reason for that reversal remains unexplained. As scrutiny deepens over the apparent lapses, 4 officials have been suspended on the orders of Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has expressed sorrow at the loss of lives and announced an ex gratia payment of Rs 2 lakh for the next of kin of each deceased, and rupees 50,000 for the injured. But the problem of unauthorized construction extends well beyond Uttar Pradesh. The Municipal Corporation of Delhi data shows that nearly 4,700 unauthorized structures were identified in the national capital in 2025 alone, and close to 4,000 demolition orders were issued. But only a fraction of those buildings were actually razed down. This discrepancy in implementation points to a wider governance challenge. What's worse is that we seem to have learned no lessons from the recent Malvinagar fire tragedy in the national capital early this month. On the 3rd of June, a blaze tore through a bed and breakfast establishment, claiming at least 21 lives, including that of foreigners, and wounding scores of others. As the adage warns, those who fail to learn from history are condemned to repeat it. From Goa to Delhi to now Lucknow, the message has been painfully consistent. We live in a country where fire disasters repeatedly reveal the same oversight gaps, and despite mounting warnings, the lessons rarely translate into lasting reform or seem to have any effect on those responsible for preventing the next tragedy. We must ask ourselves whether we have allowed our cities, places meant to educate, entertain or shelter to become unsafe. What worth does a human life hold in a system where warnings are ignored, regulations skirted and responsibility acknowledged only after a catastrophe? The pattern is eerily disturbing. If every major fire is followed by the same cycle of condolences, promises and inquiries, the urgent question shifts from how these disasters occur to why they keep recurring.
On the 21st of June, Pakistan's Defence Minister Khwaja Asif blustered that Islamabad could resort to military action if it believes that India's moves on the Indus River system threaten Pakistan's water security. India slammed Pakistan. Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson Randhir Jaiswal said Pakistan was trying to divert attention from its internal issues through fabricated claims against India. More in this report.
New Delhi suspended the 1960 Indus Waters Treaty, which governs water sharing of 6 rivers in the Indus Basin between India and Pakistan, following the April 2025 terror attack in Pahalgam. 26 people were killed in that bloodbath by Pakistan-sponsored terrorists, plummeting the relations between the nuclear rivals to their lowest level in years. Describing water as a core national security issue, Pakistan's Defence Minister Khwaja Asif said, and I quote, "The moment we feel that our national security, and water is part of our national security, is being threatened, we will go to war against India, definitely." He further added that such a step would be considered if there was concrete evidence that India was moving at an alarming speed to disrupt water flows. The World Bank brokered treaty, which has survived 2 wars and frequent tensions between India and Pakistan over the past 66 years, it's viewed as an example of trans-boundary water management. New Delhi has been adamant in its stance that the treaty would remain suspended until Islamabad takes credible and irreversible action against cross-border terrorism.
We have seen some reports on the matter. Such remarks are desperate attempts by Pakistan to cover up its own failings and deflect attention away from its human rights abuses.
Pakistan, which is facing a crippling water crisis, receives nearly 80% of the Indus Basin waters, which support about 80% of its agricultural land and about 1/3 of its hydropower. Given the significance of the treaty, Pakistan has repeatedly objected to India's decision, arguing that any disruption to water flows would have serious consequences for millions of people dependent on the river system. Last week, Pakistan's Deputy Prime Minister Ishaq Dar had sought UN Security Council intervention. Also, earlier this month, Pakistan alleged that India intends to construct a river-linking project to read out water from the Chenab, calling it a serious breach of the Indus Waters Treaty and other international obligations. At a time when Pakistan is facing severe water shortages and climate-related pressures, the escalation in rhetoric over the Indus dispute might snowball into another major flashpoint in relations between the 2 nuclear-armed neighbors.
And continuing our focus on Pakistan, severe heat wave has battered the country and millions of workers in the informal sectors are facing its brunt. From early in the day to late at night, daily wage workers are desperately adopting their working hours to cope with the unbearable heat, more often than not at the expense of their livelihood and their health.
In the bustling metropolis of Karachi, the workers are all too familiar with the relentless heat. From rickshaw drivers and street vendors to delivery riders, waste collectors and construction workers. Thousands of workers spend their days on the streets earning a living and keeping the city running. Kamal Khan, a rickshaw driver and father of 5, is one such outdoor worker worst affected by the unbearable heat. By the time office workers are settling in with their morning tea, Kamal Khan is already hours into his day. Navigating congested roads in his rickshaw, he begins each shift with temperature already above 38 degrees Celsius and the hottest hours of the day still ahead.
It causes a great deal of suffering. I develop rashes, experience difficulty in breathing. My blood pressure drops and I become ill. But what can we do? We cannot abandon our children.
For workers whose livelihoods depend on being outdoors, escaping the heat is rarely an option, and instead they have learned to adapt. Street vendors often wait until sunset before setting up their stalls, hoping to avoid the harsh afternoon sun. Delivery riders and laborers tried to do their work preferably in the cooler hours of the morning or late evening. Some employers have also started staggered shifts to reduce workers' exposure to the harsh, unrelenting sun in the afternoon. These adjustments have offered some relief, but they come with trade-offs. Working late into the night can mean less sleep, less time with family, and in some cases greater safety concerns after dark.
It's so hot right now that it's hard to even sit here. We still have to come out for the sake of our children's livelihood. We start in the morning and close around 11 p.m. at night. It's the summer season and business is also slow. Actually, it's not just slow, it has dropped a lot.
Burdened with the responsibility of earning a livelihood, this luxury of staggered shifts is also available to a few workers. Daily wage laborers often have little control over their schedules, as earnings depend on every hour worked, meaning that taking a break from the heat can also mean losing income. Those most vulnerable include children who are forced to enter the workforce at an early age, older adults who continue working to support their families, and people with pre-existing health conditions.
From around noon until 1 p.m. and then until 1 or 2 a.m., we have to spend the entire day out in the heat for work. Conditions have been very difficult, especially over the past 3 or 4 days because of the extreme heat.
What makes the situation especially concerning is that it is not the result of a few unusually hot summers. Scientists suggest that extreme heat is becoming more frequent, more intense, and lasting longer across much of the world. A new study published in the journal Nature Climate Change by the European Centre for Medium-Range Weather Forecasts found significant increase in extreme feels-like temperatures, tropical nights and heat stress days over the past 6 decades. In other words, the conditions many outdoor workers face today could become even more challenging in the years ahead.
We found that around 16% of the global population in the 1970s saw at least one day of extreme heat stress, and that's now 22%, which might not sound like a huge increase, but when you think about how much the global population has increased since the 1970s, as well as the impacts of climate change, that difference is approximately 1 billion people, which for me was quite striking.
The country's meteorological department has forecast the arrival of monsoon rains from the 25th of June, with wet spells expected to continue through the first week of July. While rains may bring a temporary relief from the unrelenting heat, the bigger trend is here to stay. As global temperatures continue to rise, cities like Karachi are likely to experience longer and more intense periods of extreme heat. At a time when the world braces itself for hotter days, the more pressing question is how societies choose to protect the outdoor workers whose labor keeps cities running.
Sri Lanka is battling the worst outbreak of mosquito-borne dengue fever in years. Since January itself, more than 44,000 cases and at least 28 deaths, including that of 5 children, have been recorded. Needless to add, the massive outbreak has put the public hospitals under severe strain. Our next report gets you the details.
For a tropical country like Sri Lanka, the scourge of dengue, especially during the monsoon season, is not uncommon. This year, however, the situation is particularly bad. Out of more than 44,000 cases recorded, more than half the cases are from the western region of the country, including 9,429 from commercial capital Colombo. 8 other districts have reported more than 2,000 patients since the start of the year. The authorities pin the blame on the unplanned urbanization, coupled with damage caused by Cyclone Ditwa, which hit the island nation last November, for worsening the outbreak.
Sri Lanka is a tropical country. There are cases throughout the years, and we had a largest outbreak in 2017. Then after that, 2019, and there's a surge in 2023 also. But last year, the Ditwa cyclone, we see a higher number of cases than previously. For this year, our baseline was high in January also. So due to this weather pattern, intermittent raining pattern, and a higher number of waste in environment may have caused this outbreak.
According to the data from the National Dengue Control Unit, the number of dengue cases nearly doubled from 5,651 in April to 10,638 in the first 2 weeks of June. Worse, the infections are likely to increase for at least 2 more weeks before tapering off toward the end of this month. Schools, government institutions, factories, and religious places have been identified in surveys as the places most likely to have a lot of mosquito breeding places. To put things into perspective, last year, 51,000 cases were recorded, but the rate of infections has risen sharply this year. Given the gravity of the situation, the authorities have warned that the patient numbers for this year could end up matching the last major outbreak in 2019, when Sri Lanka recorded over 105,000 dengue patients. On the 19th of June, Sri Lanka's Health Minister, Nalinda Jayatissa, had warned that a further uptick in patient numbers could put public hospitals under severe strain. In a bid to control the deteriorating situation, health authorities launched a special program under which schools, homes, construction sites, and public buildings were being cleaned up. With more than 1,000 admissions a day, hospitals are clearly overwhelmed, prompting the deployment of military to contain the spread of mosquito-borne dengue fever. The question is, how swiftly can the island nation bring the scourge of dengue under control?
FIFA World Cup fever has swept across the world, and it's not just the countries who have qualified. In Asia, few countries are reveling in the World Cup like Bangladesh. Usually associated with cricket, football is the #1 sport in Bangladesh at the moment.
Despite never qualifying for the FIFA World Cup, millions of Bangladeshis follow the tournament with real passion. Streets are filled with flags, walls featuring murals of various football stars, and huge crowds gather to watch the matches. From the streets of Dhaka to university campuses, the World Cup craze is taking over. Among the Bangladeshi people, the love for football runs deep. While there is support for European nations as well, most Bangladeshis are enthralled by 2 nations, Argentina and Brazil, 2 countries synonymous with football. Recently, thousands of Argentina supporters gathered at Dhaka University to watch the defending champions take on Austria, as Messi created history to become the top goal scorer ever at the FIFA World Cup. According to the organizers, more than 3,000 fans attended the watch party. These scenes won't look out of place in Buenos Aires or Messi's hometown of Rosario, but this is Dhaka, The crowd erupted with every goal. Fans waved flags. Vuvuzelas danced and roared in celebration, creating an electrifying atmosphere, the kind we see at World Cup stadiums.
Since I started understanding football, Argentina has always been my favorite team, and I support them. We got the cup in 2022, and this is probably Messi's last World Cup. We want to see this in his hand as well. This is my only hope in this tournament.
For many supporters, this edition of the World Cup carries extra emotional weight as it marks the last World Cup appearance of Lionel Messi. And for Argentina's devoted fans, the goal remains the same: to see their idol lift the World Cup one more time before he hangs up his boots.
We will take away the World Cup this time as well. Argentina will take it. This is his last, so we must take the World Cup.
But Argentina isn't the only team that gets support in Bangladesh. Brazil also holds a special place in the heart of several Bangladeshi football fans. Despite the early morning, thousands of supporters gathered in the campus of Dhaka University to watch Brazil face Haiti on the 20th of June, wearing yellow jerseys and waving flags, creating a sea of yellow and blue.
We're also optimistic that we can win this World Cup 2026 after 2002 World Cup, and after 24 years we can win this World Cup. I think so.
For Bangladeshis, the FIFA World Cup is not just about who lifts the trophy. It's about the emotions of millions of fans who devote themselves to teams thousands of kilometers away and support them with unwavering loyalty. And that is the true magic of the World Cup.
On the 20th of June, tens of thousands of people gathered in Lalitpur to celebrate Bhoto Jatra, Nepal's annual chariot festival. Bhoto, a jewel-studded vest which serves as the ritual object, it was displayed during the procession. Every year, an idol of Machindranath, the god of harvest and prosperity, is placed on a towering wooden chariot and pulled through the streets of Lalitpur. Nepalese believe that paying homage to Machindranath brings monsoon rains and good fortune to the people. Take a look at these wonderful visuals. I'll see you again next week.